Okay. হুম? কাকিমণি কই? হুম?
Okay, we'll start the meeting. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome for today's webinar. Today we are having the topic. We are having the topic case handling in video conferencing mode by Advocate Rahul Nirlekar. I would introduce shortly Rahul sir. Uh, today's today's webinar is organized by Legal Cell and Law and Society Alliance, powered by LawCog, which is our media partner. Further, myself, I am Advocate Uday Shenoy, Advocate Bombay High Court. We have with us Advocate N.C. Bipindra sir, who is Advocate Supreme Court and co-founder of Legal Cell. He is also the chairman of Law and Alliance and editor of Defense Capital magazine. We have with us Advocate H. Kumar Vaidyanathan, who is Advocate for Bombay High Court. He is also Secretary General of Law and Society Alliance and co-founder of Legal Cell. So this is how the webinar is organized. So today's speaker, we have Advocate Rahul Nirlekar, who is Advocate Bombay High Court. He has done. May I request all participants to please keep your phone on mute. It's a humble request. Please keep your phone on mute. We have with us Advocate Rahul Nerlekar, who is Bombay High Court, Advocate Bombay High Court. He has done his BCom from Podar College, LLB from Government Law College. He's been practicing since the year 1993 from High Court, Labor Court, and Industrial Court. Apart from this, he's an excellent tennis player. He was the captain of LLPA cricket team from there. So over to you, Rahul sir. I'm handing over the stage to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shenoy.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all my lawyer friends. And firstly, I wish you all a very healthy and good health throughout this year. Now, we all want to meet up and we want the courts to open so that we can meet in person. But perhaps presently that is not possible because of the lockdown initially.
Sorry, sir. Sorry to disturb. Participants, may I request everybody to keep your PC or phone on mute, except for Rahul, sir.
Well, yes, I think people have done that. Anyway, when this COVID thing started initially, the court started reducing its workload since around 24th of March. Since 24th of March, we have experienced this lockdown, which was initially expected to last only 21 days. So I think there was no problem at that stage with 21 days. Everybody was hoping courts will reopen after 21 days and we all will start going to court again. Somehow that lockdown has continued and it's continuing till now, which was quite unexpected. Now, during this time, the courts had to start working somehow. And though people, because of the trains being closed completely, though people could not travel, courts have found out as an interim measure this video conferencing to be a good way of working. Now, when this is just an interim solution where advocates can attend to the court from their homes or offices. The judges, of course, physically attend the high court with minimum staff. And if you attend the video conference in the high court, you will see them sitting in some courtroom. all of us, this video conferencing has been suddenly thrust upon all of us, including the courts and the court staff. Nobody is really aware, or nobody initially was aware of how to go about, and we are all in a learning process. Even the court staff is still in a learning process. But the efficiency of the video conferencing has been improving every day. What we initially experienced, in video difficulties experienced in video conferencing have slowly been reducing. They have been improving day by day, and every day it's a better experience than earlier. Mr. Kumar Vaidyanathan, who requested me to give this lecture, said that though everybody is learning, you are also new, but for some of us who have never done any video conferencing, we would they like me to share my experiences with you. So have this is going to be a very basic introduction to what is video conferencing, how to go about it, and not to be really afraid or scared of coming on a video conferencing. Why I'm saying this is, if you read some of the notices on how to go about with video conferencing, they are really intimidating and confusing. It's not as complicated as the notices make out. Actually, it's quite simple. Let us start with a few things which will get you started for video conferencing, which are some of the basic requirements which you must have technically as well as firstly, you must have a personal computer or a phone which has a camera. I think all laptops nowadays have a built-in camera, or you can of course attach a separate outside camera. All phones also, all smartphones have this facility of camera and video conference. So you must have a internet connection with at least 2 MB speed. That is necessary, otherwise you will constantly keep getting disturbances. Then what can be additionally used is a good headphone with a microphone. Uh, there are several available in the market, but even the phone, the ear set which you use along with your mobile phone is also good enough. Presently, I am using that only, and I hope I can be heard very clearly. Thirdly, you require this Cisco WebEx app, which is presently being used even by the High Court. Now, we are also using this Cisco WebEx app for this video conference here. The same app is, if you can download it in your mobile phone as well as PC, will be more useful, because then you can just log in with your meeting ID, and it's much easier that way rather than having to wait for the full link and then entering this web conference through a link. Last but not the least, now some of the preferred things which are not absolutely essential is try and keep a wall in the background. Your camera should not ideally be facing your other rest of your house or office, where there may be others who are moving around or put them in an embarrassing position manner. You should have a formal dress. White shirt and tie is the minimum requirement so far as Bombay High Court web conferences are required. Coat and band, if you have at home or if you have in your office, you can use it, but it's not necessary. Quite a few advocates are appearing in white shirt and tie. Now, coming to what this video conferencing is meant for. At present, at least, video conferencing thing is meant only for urgent matters where you require urgent interim or ad interim orders from the court. You have to give a undertaking for supplying hard copy later on. Most of the filing is done by e-filing method, and you have to do the e-filing at designated email IDs given by the High Court. if you have already filed a matter and you still want a urgent hearing, that is if you have physically filed in the high court before the lockdown and you want a urgent hearing, you have to move a precipi before the judges who are designated to hear the matters. If your precipi is granted, then you will receive from the high court one email which will, one day prior to the date on which hearing is fixed, you will receive an email from the high court registry giving you the joining details for the video conference and giving you the daily board for that day and what is your serial number on the board. So you have a fair idea of when the high court hearing will start, what is your serial number, what time you are expected to reach. It's just like in the normal court. Now all the on the board itself, all the instructions on how to appear and are given. But what I have said above are the basic things. It's nothing beyond that. Be in a formal dress. You mute your microphones till your matter is already actually called out. Your microphone and video should, as far as possible, be switched off unless and until your matter is called out. Then, so far as how to go about the matter is concerned, the petitioner who has filed the urgent matter has to circulate the matter to all the opponents. He has to serve all the opponents in PDF format. All the papers have to go in PDF. And the petitioner is also required to give this High Court email, which he receives from the High Court regarding the joining details for the video conferencing. He has to circulate it amongst all the respondents also. So all the respondents can then attend the meeting. Uh, so far as login is concerned, on the given date and time, you can log in, while the court is actually starting at 11 a.m. or 10:45 a.m. sometimes. Or you can wait for some time. If your matter is very low down on the board, you can log in later on. In the High Court, while logging in, one thing you have to take care is uh, you have all used this WebEx software. So while you log in onto the WebEx meeting, on the top there is a name which comes. So there is a edit option. Now you have to first put the serial number in which you are appearing, so that the High Court staff, who is the host in this WebEx conference, they know that who's appearing and at what serial number, and accordingly they can put up those particular names when the appropriate matter is called out. Or sometimes if there are too many people who have logged in, he can keep out certain people till their turn comes, can be kept out of the video conference. They are required to be in waiting. Now, how do we know what is going on? Suppose you are not allowed to join the video conference and you still want to know what matters are going on. So recently they have also started putting up the daily board, just as they used to have that link earlier, that which matters are going on in which court is clearly shown nowadays, and that is updated. So you can also have a very clear picture of what's happening in which court. Even if you have matters in more than one court, you can keep a watch on all the courts and join in the video conference in whichever court where your matter is being called out at that point of time. Then, of course, as I said, as far as possible, all people do it. Keep their microphones and videos on a switched off mode till the matter is actually called out. It's only when your matter is called out you switch it on. Even then, first the petitioner has to start and complete his arguments. It's only if the court calls upon the respondents, then the respondent can switch on his mic and then put forth whatever he wants to say. Till then, it is better to keep the microphone on the off mode and not interfere in what petitioner petitioner is arguing and what the court is asking. So it's for the respondents, it's best to wait till they are asked to say something. Many a times it so happens that court does not even call upon the respondent to say anything, and matters are disposed of, or certain orders are passed without really calling upon the respondent to say anything. It's only if any adverse order is being passed, the respondent may be called upon. And how to address the court is, as I said, the petitioner initially starts and the respondent argue or come on the video conference as per their numbers, or as as and when they are called upon by the court. Last but not the least, after the meeting is over, one is expected not to hang on listening to other matters, because it does create a bandwidth problem for the High Court and staff. So they expect that after your matter is over, you should log out of the meeting immediately, unless you have any other matter somewhere down the line again. So these are the very basic things which you need to remember when you attend any video conference. I would recommend that before you actually attend something on your own, you attend a video conference with a friend who is regularly doing it, just to get a hang of things and just to see how others are doing it. That will help you in making a better show when you actually attend the video conference. That said, now my personal opinion initially was that this is not a good alternative to regular court hearings in the long run. Of course, that's my personal opinion, because end of the day, you are not in the court, and physically being in the court in the presence of the judges and your opponents of difference. By presenting your matter, you get to see reactions, you get to know whether they have clearly heard you or not. You can hear their queries, you can give in citations across the table, across the bar. Now, all these things can't be done in a video conference. It's very difficult for a final hearing matter to be heard in a video conference. This is, in my opinion, good only to the extent of hearing urgent interim and ad interim relief, which are basically on the basis of affidavits filed by the respective. Evidence will be very difficult on a video conferencing mode, recording of evidence. Don't think we are yet sufficiently technically up to date for doing that. Then video conferencing is still a slightly impersonal. There's no personal touch in a video conference. So most of us who are regularly appearing in the courts, and we are used to physical appearance, always are used to that personal touch when we are arguing a matter. The detailed arguments, advancing detailed arguments, showing page numbers and showing the court to go through the pages, though it's possible. I mean, perhaps because we are not used to that on a video conference. I personally didn't like a video conference for a detailed hearing and detailed. Initially, there were also some problems in login. For example, if you log in the video conference slightly late, the court starts hearing at 11. Your matter is somewhere 25:30. You log in by 11:15. You are asked to, then you are required to be in the waiting room, what is called a waiting lounge, till the host admits you in the video conference. Earlier, when they were not showing what's happening and daily board and what matter is going on in which court, there would always be a tension. Oh God, what happens if the host does not admit me and my matter gets called out? Now, slowly, as I said, they have started making improvements. The courts and their staff are also not used, constantly learning. Now they have started using the board display facility, where you know what is happening in which court. Uh, Even admitting the advocates in video conference has become much easier. What is essential is that every advocate, while logging in, should initially put his serial number and then his name. So the host or the associate who handles this video conferencing for the court knows that who is appearing in which matter and appropriately puts up those people in the front when the matter is called out. It's easier for the court also to that whether there are how many people are attending in a particular serial number. So these being the disadvantages which are slowly being worked out, what are the advantages of video conference? Advantages are that you can attend to a video conference or court hearing by sitting in your office or in the comfort of your home also. Then, of course, we are able to keep social distancing from everybody. Depending on now, in my office, I am presently sitting alone, so there is no possibility of any COVID person coming near me, which is almost impossible in the court. You have to go to a court, it's always crowded, there is always somebody else waiting along with you. There are people in the bar room. You have to travel to court to and fro. Most of the people, advocates, travel by public transport. So social distancing and COVID risk is greatly increased in physical appearances. Now, this is a big advantage in video conferencing. You can do a video conference, attend court from the safety of your office or home and avoid disease. Last but not the least, anyone who is interested in seeking urgent orders from the court always gets that opportunity. It's not as if the courts are closed for everybody. Courts are working, though physical appearance and physical filing is there. In grave urgent matters, hearing is going on and reliefs are being granted or rejected depending upon the merits of the matter. These are the very basic things and requirements of a video conferencing in a high court at least. Slowly, the lower courts will also start this video conferencing modes. I think all the courts do not still have this facility, but in times to come, this video conferencing likely to be adopted by all the lower courts also. And apart from this urgent hearings as we are doing now, I foresee that in some future, with more technical advances happening, video conferencing may become a regular mode of hearing and physical appearances may become a rarity. So, for the older generation of lawyers, it's going to be difficult to adjust to all this. The younger generation will find it much easier because they will start with video conferencing, and there are so many things which I also have yet to learn in all this. Only experience will teach all of us what is the best. Now, even now, I am getting a message of low bandwidth, though I am using a MTNL broadband. Now, this is another difficulty. Now, the you really require a fast, high-speed internet for a video conferencing. It's better to have a internet facility with at least 10 B, though they say that 2 MB is sufficient. 4G and 2 MB many a times fall short in a long video conference. For a short video conference, it's fine. But that said, it's not impossible to connect. It's not very difficult to connect on a ordinary broadband and even a ordinary 4G connection on a mobile phone. It's not that every time you require a computer and a broadband. So this being my experience in video conferencing and my personal views, I think all of us should start getting used to this by attending a few matters along with somebody who has a matter before you actually attend on your own. That would be the best and will give you a experience sufficient to attend on your own. Thank you. If anybody has any questions on video conferencing, they are most welcome to ask.
Thank you, sir. That was a large piece of information which will be really helpful to us. There was one question posted at the chat group. It's asking, what is the procedure for argument if one advocate is not able to log in? Will ex parte orders be passed?
Well, if somebody is unable to log in, normally what he can do is connect directly with the associate and ask him to pass on the message. Or if somebody else, some other fellow advocate has logged in, and if you can see it on the computer screen, but you are unable to log in, can request that person to put in a message in the chat about the person being. And even I have seen, I mean, I have seen many petitioners advocates saying that yes, the respondent's advocate is contacting me and telling me that he is unable to log in, so keep the matter tomorrow or day after. So it's basically where if somebody is unable to log in, the fellow advocates are helping out and are expected to help out by informing the court that such and such person tried to log in but couldn't log in. Normally, the courts are accommodating because it's a new procedure for everybody, and it is understood that people may have difficulties.
Right.
It's not a very big problem if somebody is unable to log in once or twice. But as I said, therefore I you know advise that you try to log in first with somebody who is already doing video conferencing. Sit with him and see how he logs in,
Hmm.
so that you are not experimenting when you actually have to do it.
Right. Right. Right.
Can you just do that? Tell me what are the questions,
Yeah, that was the
because
one.
I was unable to read the all the questions on the
I'm
chat.
I'm I'm going through. That was the only question that was posted as of now. Right. Sir, I have one question myself. When we talk about argument, we even if in electronic media, we do need to refer some pages. I think you have answered shortly on that. But suppose we do have to refer pages wherein there might be some disconnect between us and the judges. Is it not a problem, or or things are taken care on that front?
No, it does create a problem on that particular day. But see, you for a video conference, you also have to prepare and file your entire brief in a PDF format. So all the advocates have the same PDF files with them,
Hmm.
with the page numbers, and the court also has the same PDF file. So normally reference to page numbers normally does not go wrong. But if it does go wrong, I I have seen that courts do accommodate and keep the matters on next week or after 2 3 days and consider the matter afresh after all these page numbering problems are sorted out.
Right, right. Okay. So from thank you, sir. Thank you for that. I got it clear. From participants, do we have any other questions?
थांब जरा.
Sir, there is one question posted just now. What was the most unique feature of video conferencing as per you? What is the difference? What was the facilitator or facility that you found very interesting about it?
Well, every time you log in again to a video conference, there's always something new happening.
Right.
Like I said earlier, if you logged in for a video conference, you didn't get the board initially, so you didn't know what was your number and you just had to keep waiting. I have personally sat waiting up to 5:30 in the evening
Oh.
since 12 noon, and the matter not being called out, and I was wondering what happened, why was the matter not called out, it was posted. But slowly all these things are being sorted out. So every time you join in afresh, there's always something new, which I found to be a unique feature, that every day you are learning something new is happening, and things are improving for the better every day. That's one unique feature which I like about this video conferencing.
Right, right. Sir, we have one more question from Kumar sir himself. He is asking, in Delhi High Court, I have seen it to be paperless court. What's your view as to when will Bombay High Court will be paperless court?
Ah, Bombay High Court can become a paperless court provided all we advocates are comfortable and familiar with this. I personally like to work with my brief, physically in my hand and with my papers in hand. Most of our judges and lawyers are also used to that. Unless all of us decide and make special effort, I don't foresee in near future Bombay High Court becoming a completely paperless court. Unless all advocates and all the legal fraternity comes together and insists upon it.
Sir, just
Just
to
like shifting of high court to a some other area where most of the people are not comfortable with the idea, so it
right,
doesn't happen.
right. So just to add, if you go back in the 90s, when there was a proposal to, go for a paperless banking, so there were a lot of resistance from the banking industry that the jobs will go and those kind of things. But ultimately, if you see now, the situation is every desk or every person in bank, except for the security guard, has a computer. Or even in ICICI Bank, I have seen that when you enter, you get a token from the computer itself. So is it that the resistance from people would stop this, or we need to find a way out of this?
No, in due course it will stop. As I said, with the newer generation being more computer savvy and see, it's for us we are used to this paper, and so we don't want to change habits. It's a sort
Correct.
of a mental block to change a habit. We can also do it. Not that it's impossible for us, but most people will prefer not to do it. Why? They are in their own comfort zone with the physical brief and papers.
Yes. Correct.
And of course, you can put these markers on your physical brief and quickly access those pages, and you can do all that with your PDF files also, but you just need to get used to it. And
Used to
till
it.
you get used to it, it's very difficult.
Right. Right.
Even for speaking for myself, I am also now learning how to do their markings on the PDF file. So earlier I never had to do that, but now with the
Correct.
court hearings on video conference, you get the entire brief on a PDF file and you need to mark it, important things in that. You have to file a
Right.
reply.
Right.
So it's a learning process, and most of us, unless we are open to learning new things, will keep opposing it.
Right. Right. Correct, sir. Sir, one more thing. Since we are talking about video conferencing, most of the people don't know where and how to approach to get a video conferencing or to suggest a high court that we are having an urgent matter. So, what would, in short, if you can tell us the email ID or any
Yes,
context
yes,
where to
yes.
approach?
For getting a video conference, firstly, you have to register on e-filing. You have to file all your entire brief in PDF format on e-filing. Now, e-filing is a quite complicated thing and a completely different subject altogether. Once you do the e-filing, then you have to move up recipe to the concerned judges, where High Court has given designated emails. Now these emails are also changing. For 1 week it was a particular email. Now then they standardized it to some other email ID.
Okay.
So all these things are evolving. So there are some difficulties, but you can give in your recipe, and once your recipe is accepted by the honorable judges, then only you will receive an email from the High Court registry giving you the joining details or meeting ID and joining details and what time. And the email will also have the entire board for that particular day. So you have a fair chance of knowing that when and how you will, what time you will reach, and accordingly be prepared for the matter.
Right. Right. So the same similar question was asked by one of our participant, Neeraj Pandey. Maybe you got your answer, Neeraj Pandey. There is one more question. What is your view on arbitration department? Will they undertake video conferencing? Are they planning to go ahead with that?
Well, I have, though not personally attended any, but I have heard of arbitration meetings also happening on video conference mode.
Okay.
Like I said, recording of evidence and detailed arguments, though may not be possible,
Right.
certainly basic filings and at least the oral arguments part can be completed on video conference mode very easily. But recording of evidence perhaps may still require, physical sitting. Though it's not impossible, but then evidence recording and especially cross examination, it's better that everybody sees the person in front of them, so that there's no secret uh, signs from anywhere, or nobody makes an allegation that he is being tutored by somebody else.
Right, right, right. Correct, sir.
Other things perhaps can be done on a video conference and are being done to some extent.
Right, right. Thanks for that, sir. One more thing. I think we are short of time. We will be having the meeting over in 5 minutes. So just the last question. When we have video conferencing, is court recording the video conferencing and keeping it as a?
No, recording of court video conferencing is strictly prohibited.
Okay,
And whether the court does the recording or no, I'm really not aware. But for anybody else, recording of a court video conference is prohibited. You can't do it.
okay, okay. Thank you, sir. That was a very, very informative session. Something new to most of us. Since we are short of time, the video, conference will be ending in about 2-3 minutes. So thank you again. Thanks from everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And it's a very nice experience to attend court through video conference. I would like all of you to try it sometime or the other. And
Yes, sir.
it's not as difficult as the notices giving the directions seem to be.
Correct, correct,
Quite easy that way.
correct. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure
Yeah.
having you
Thanks. Have a nice
on
day.
this webinar. Thanks.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, yes. Just to inform about Monday's session, we are having the impact on intellectual property rights law during the COVID-19, which will be presented by Professor Munmun Malik, and the moderator would be Dr. Sangeeta Shetty. So, timing would be the same 2:20 login. So, I request everybody to log in by 2:20 Monday. And thanks everybody. Thanks again from all of us, all the organizers, media partners, for participating in the webinar. Thank you. Thank you.